Hello, this is Mark Tucker, continuing the series on APL components for viewers of the Dabble Lab channel. In this video, we'll cover how to text with style using the text component. If you want to follow along in APL Ninja, look for the project link in the description. Let's go. In our project here, I want to first point out the fact that we're using an import of Alexa styles, and version 1.3 is the latest one at the time of this video. That's because we're going to be using some resources and styles that Amazon defines, and we're going to be able to just import those in. If for some reason your project is already using Alexa layouts to take advantage of additional components, you don't need to import both because the Alexa layouts also includes the same styles as the Alexa styles project. In main templates, we have a single container that's going to fill the entire viewport, and it has a number of child items. By default, container lays things out from top to bottom in a column. And just a reminder that you can control where things are laid out on the container, all the different child components based on this justify content and align items properties. But there's also going to be some text properties that we talk about here in just a little bit that has to do with how text is related or lined out inside of a paragraph or inside of the text component itself. So we're just going to go ahead and go back to just the normal top left. What you'll notice is the text is a certain color. It's flush up against the top, all the way to the left, and it's certain font size and font type. So these are using a lot of the different defaults. With the exception, we've set the color to a resource that we've defined ourselves up here. So color 1 is this version or this color of green, kind of make it look like one of those old style green screen monitors. And then we also have set the font size to 60 display independent pixels. So you notice as we change the different size here, we can affect how big this text is going to be. Let's also take a look at some of these other properties that we have. So font family. Right now, this is a sans serif font, but we can go ahead and change it into a serif font. There's not all that much as far as fonts that are available. There are no custom fonts. You basically get a version of a serif and a version of a sans serif font. But just like in web, you can define multiple different fonts. So you can say, oh, if Times New Roman is there, then use that. If not, use Times. If not, use Georgia. If not, use serif. And you'll want to have the last one here be either serif or sans space serif, depending on what you want. So that is how you change the font family. Now we're going to add some padding to the left of this text, so it's not all the way against that far left. So we're using one of these resources that we've imported in. So you can do spacing extra small, small, medium, large, and you can kind of, there's a number over here like extra large. Let's see, it's 2XL, 3XL. So you can specify how much space is going to be off on the left of that font there. You can also add in font weight. There's different values like bold and normal, or you can specify a number like 100, 200, 300, 600, 900, I think is as far as it goes. So you can change the font weight that way. You can also change the font style from either normal or italic. Select that. And then letter spacing, how much spacing is between the letters. So you can play around with that and get what effect that you want using that. Value. So that covers some of the things that we were wanting to do with text. Let's explore this next section here. So with this section of text, it's going to be a whole paragraph. So right now, the section is not displayed, so we're going Now go ahead and make it displayed. So here we see that it's going from the far left, very edge, all the way to the right, and then when it hits the first line, gets to the end, then it wraps, so the next word goes on to the next line all the way down. So let's take a look. One of the first things, like we say, we're using the same color. We can specify a shadow. Now we've done shadow before, and for every other component other than the text component, shadow is just a square behind whatever it is. It's always takes the form of a rectangle. But with text, it takes the shape of the text itself. So here we can see that the shadow behind the text is the exact same text, and we've got it down 4 pixels and to the right a little bit. And it's this radius value that determines how defined the shadow image is behind. So changing that to something like 10 gives it kind of a nice glow. If you wanted to, I guess, go on with the green screen monitor effect, you can change that, and you can kind of start seeing some fuzziness to the text. So we don't want the text to be all the way to the left or to the right, and there is a defined value called margin horizontal, and we're going to add that padding left and right to that. That margin horizontal resource is what Amazon uses for all of their components to give a specific margin. So if you want to match what they're doing, go ahead and use margin horizontal, but you can put in your own display independent pixel values however you want. There's also an ability to add spacing. So I just added some spacing here at the top of this item. So item 1, child component 1, child component 2, and I've added a little spacing at the top with spacing small. You can change that to spacing extra small. So these are some other resource values that we have. So we can do medium. So we can change that. If we want to change the line height, the default here for line height is basically 125% or 1.25. But if we wanted to have more spacing in between our lines, we can do that with the line height property. We can also specify how many lines are the max number of lines. So in this case, 2. So it's going to show up to 2 lines, and if it goes past the 2 lines, it's going to go ahead and add a ... in the end, and then just not show any more of the text. And we can play with that, 3 lines, 5 lines, whatever. Or if we turn it off completely, then all of the lines will show. Now let's talk about the text align property. So we want to have the text align to the start here. Let's go ahead and change this so that the height of the second text component takes 100% and is shrinkable. So now when you say, oh, this is going to be to the start, to the end, so now we have it right justified. We can center the text. So these are the properties that we can do on the text component itself, regardless of how it's placed by the parent container. And we also can do text vertical align. So right now it's center, here it's at the top, and here it's at the bottom of that space that we provided by making this be 100% and then shrinking it so it makes sure that it fits on the screen. So those are some additional properties of how to lay out and align text. Next, we're going to explore there's some markdown that you can use. Down here, note is in bold, there is limited, and that's italics, text markup, and you can change the color of text. And so here's some sample emoji and symbols that we've included. So the way that this looks here is there's some basic markup tag that you can do, like B for bold. There is an I, italic limited text. You can do a BR to make sure that it goes on, breaks and goes on to the next line. Define a span. there's not a lot that you can do with that, and you can consult the documentation as far as what Markdown is available. So here's emoji, ending of the span. There is some characters kind of like HTML where you can do like ampersand, greater than, less than, using this @ sign and kind of a code. And then you can just copy and paste in emoji or symbols right here, and it will just show up. So finally here, we're going to talk about styles. So this next section here, so this text uses styles, and it's using a named style called text style display 1. And if you go to this link here, it will show you all the different styles. But if we were to go here, text display style display 2 is going to be smaller. 3 is going to be smaller than that. But there are some defined styles. Now, what is a style? We looked at all these different properties and we controlled those. If you go to the documentation for APL text, you'll notice all these properties for the text component. You'll notice this column say style, yes or no. If there's a value of yes, then things like color, font family, font size are things that can be included in a style. The text itself, for example, can't be. So let's go ahead and take a look. We're going to change this to style 1. And this is a style that we've defined. So it's italic and it's red. If we go up here, this is an example of a custom style that we've created. Style 1, its values have, so you're going to set property color to red, font weight to this resource that Amazon provides called font weight heavy, keyword italic, font size is @ font size large. So what styles are collections of properties that you can then group together and give it a name, like CSS, and then inside of your component, you just use a style property and you can set the one style, and all those properties will be set. So just wanted to also make you aware that there's a topology section here when it's talking about creating design experiences. And so here, these are the 2 typefaces that are available. And here are some examples of that display 1 all the way down to body, hint, call out, what those look like. Talks about font weights, also talks about, there's this idea that depending on the hub size, the idea is that you'll look at a hub landscape small from about 5 feet away. In order to do that, display 1 is going to be 106 display independent pixels so that you can read it from 5 feet. Whereas that same display 1 on a hub landscape that's 7 feet away is 148, so you can read it from that greater distance. Or from a full TV screen, they're expecting that to be about a 10-foot experience. So make yourself familiar with the idea of how reading these different screens at different distances. It also comes in here and talks about the text markup tags that we saw some of those and some of the different properties. So that would be a good way to go further into how to use that. And just a note that when you create your styles, it's not just the text component that you can use styles. Any of the components have properties that are stylable, and you can group those together and create your own styles for your projects. So in this episode, we learned about the text component and about styles. In the next video, we'll explore data binding. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please let me know with a like or a share. Thank you for watching.